Hello everyone, this is Dr. Swati Mishra from International School of Business Management at Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. I take this opportunity to welcome you to the second session of Indian Business Houses. In our first session, I had introduced you to what exactly I meant by business houses when we will be taking this course forward. We also started discussing a fine lineage of some great Indian business houses which started from small saplings and now they have become big Indian business conglomerates. After continuing through Tata's, I am yet here with another Indian business house, which is a second Parsi family owned business that I wanted to discuss with you. And it is none other than the Wadia Group. The Wadia family is a Parsi family from Surat, India, currently based in Mumbai. India and United States. The present head of the house is Nusli Wadia, son of Neville and Dina, who runs the Wadia group of companies. The Wadia family has three main branches: textiles, shipping, and jewelry. Descendants from each of these branches have made significant contributions to their fields, to their communities, and to the country and to the global economy, of course. They have been industrialists, government leaders, medical doctors, and scholars. The Wadia Group makes auto components and dental products through its company BBTC. The rest of the companies running under this group are shown on the screen. Who doesn't know Bombay Dyeing? Who doesn't know King's 11 Punjab? Who doesn't know Go Air? So here are some amazing facts about this group. The group's first venture over 280 years ago was in the marine construction industry. The Wadias were marine designers and master builders par excellence, where they built 335 vessels that plowed international waters over their 160 years of existence, including the first ships constructed for the British Navy outside England. It was on such ship, the Minden, that the American national anthem was composed. On another Wadia built deck, the HMS Cornwallis, the Treaty of Nanking, ceding Hong Kong to England, was signed. The second oldest ship in the world, HMS Trincomalee, which is afloat even today and intact in Hartlepool, is yet another marvel of the Wadia's shipbuilding prowess. Over the next 150 years, the group manufactured over 355 vessels that plowed international waters. The family is related to Pakistan's politically prominent Jinnah family, and Neville Wadia, who was married to Dina Jinnah from 1938 to 1943, and they had two children together, Diana and Nusli Wadia. Dina was the daughter of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the former founder of Pakistan, and later the daughter of Sila Tata and Dunshaw Makanji Petty. And though Dina took divorce from Neville in 1943, she remained a prominent member of the Wadia family. The family is related to Jinnah family, as I just told you. And let's move ahead to the next group in discussion, which is none other than the Khaitan group. Industrialist Brij Mohan Khaitan hogged the limelight by acquiring the Indian business of Union Carbide in 1990s, which gave him a dominant position in the dry cell battery business, which continues even till today. He passed away recently as at his residence due to old age ailments, family sources had informed. He rose from a dingy lane of Burra Bazaar in Calcutta to become the Burra Sahib of the Indian tea industry. Under his astute management, McLeod Russell became the largest private bulk tea producer in the world, at a time when it was rare to find Indian companies uh, at the top of the totem pole. It was recently toppled from that perch by the Goodry Group after the Khaitan Group decided to trim the toxic debt in the group by selling the gardens in Assam and in Rwanda. Born on August 14, 1927, to a wealthy and educated Marwari family, Brij Mohan attended St. Xavier's before honing his business skills as a supplier of fertilizers and plywood packaging boxes to the tea industries, which was mainly owned and managed by the British shoguns. Khaitan was soon to become a co-owner of the company as the Magyars brought him in as the White Knight to stave off the hostile bid. He spearheaded the business with a business acuity rarely seen amongst the Europeans who had stayed back after the independence to run the famed managing agencies of Calcutta. The partnership with the Magyars was only the beginning of a long journey as Khaitan acquired one company after the other, a business trait that was akin to his close friend Ram Prasad Goenka, the founder of RPG Group. We'll be discussing that group also in the further session as we move ahead. I wish to share some good facts and amazing facts with you about this group as well. Bridge Mohan not only expanded the tea business with the Magyars but diversified whenever possible. The group acquired the Union Carbide India business in 1994, fighting the Wadias, which we just discussed. This was billed at the time as one of the largest takeovers of a foreign firm by an Indian company. Today, Eveready Industries continues to be the largest producer of dry cell batteries in India, with a market share of more than 50%. The cordial relations with the Magyars floundered in 2001, leading to an acronymous split. But Khaitan was back with a bang, within 4 years taking over the tea business from Philip Magyars Williamson Tea Assam and turning it into the largest tea producer in the world. Ably aided by his two sons, Deepak, who sadly died a few years ago, and younger son Aditya, the group ventured outside India and acquired the tea gardens in Vietnam and Rwanda. At present, Deepak's son Amritanshu is at the helm of Eveready and Aditya looks after the tea business. Now let's move ahead and discuss the next group, the one which I just named, the RPG group. More than a century in the making, RPG Group's history can be traced back to the early 1800s when Ramdutt Goenka came to Calcutta from a small town in Rajasthan, a state in western India, which is famous for businessmen, to get into business with the British East India Company. Once there, he linked up with several British firms and expanded his business rapidly. Over the course of time, the company established itself in diverse business sectors such as banking, textiles, jute, and tea. Ram Prasad Goenka, also better known as R.P. Goenka, established the RPG Enterprises in 1979 with Philips Carbon Black, Asian Cables, Agar Para Jute, and Murphy India, the companies that he inherited when the family business was split. At a time when big business was considered taboo and the monopoly Raj had the corporate world in binding, Mr. Goenka embarked on his journey of acquisitions and mergers, snapping corporate world out of its tucker. Under Mr. Goenka's leadership, the RPG Group acquired around 11 companies, which eventually won him the title of the Takeover King. In 1980s, it saw further acquisitions by RPG Group, the first being Seat Tires. The Seat Tires of India, which was acquired in 1982. Searle India, now also known as RPG Life Sciences, in 1983. The group then went on to acquire KC, Searle, then Gramophone Company, now also known as Saregama, which was acquired in 1986, and finally CESC, Harrison's Malayalam, Spencers and Company, and ICIM in 1989. In the year 2010, the group was dividing its business between Ram Prasad Goenka's two sons, Harsh and Sanjeev. Born into one of the oldest business families, Mr. Goenka learned from the best. This prodigious grandson of Sarbadri Das Goenka arduously expanded his industrial network across India and beyond, while remaining rooted in Kolkata. Not one to be let down by setbacks, he went on to establish the Seat Tires, KC International, Zensar, Harrison Malayalam, amongst the others. Harsh Goenka now leads the Mumbai-headquartered RPG Enterprises, also known as the RPG Group, which consists of over 15 companies across core sectors of the economy with a turnover in excess of US $3 billion. You can see the two splitted groups of RPG Harsh Goenka and RPG Sanjeev Goenka on your screen. So most of the major companies are public listed under these two groups, holding a substantial chunk of equity. Power utility giant CESC is a benchmark in efficiency for the sector. Tire maker C8 is one of the top Indian tire maker companies. And KC International is the largest global EPC company in the world. Tea and rubber plantation companies, Harrison Malayalam is the pride of the southern state of Kerala. Philips Carbon Black is the largest carbon black producer in India, and the Zensar Technologies is one of the fastest growing IT companies in the business. India apart, the group's footprint is spread across the world through companies like KC, its infrastructure play, which puts up projects across the world, including in some of the most difficult terrains. Over half of KC's business is global. Texmaco, a KK Birla company, was interested in buying KC, but the bid was rejected. RPG Life Sciences was earlier known as Searle India, as I just told you. Did you know that KC was Asia's first power transmission company? Yes, my dear. A very less known fact to the people around, but it is true. And Ramji Bhai Kamani founded Kamani Engineering Corporation KC in 1945, which became the first electric power transmission company in Asia and a pioneer in power transmission and railway electrification. Currently, it is India's second largest manufacturer of electric power transmission towers and one of the largest power transmission engineering, procurement, and construction companies in the world. With over 50,000 employees in its fold, the RPG Group is extremely focused in its HR policies. It believes in valuing its people, empowering the performance, and providing diverse opportunities and rewarding performance even as going for growth remains its primary objectives. In 1993, Group Chairman Harsh Goenka got in international consultants McKinsey to provide strategic direction. Subsequently, it consolidated its position in a number of businesses and exited a few. A lot of tough measures were taken, and this period has shaped the group to be what it is today. In 90s, focusing on core businesses had replaced diversity as the buzzword. RPG Enterprises was an amalgamation of diverse companies in various sectors. with a changed economic scenario that saw many landmark changes in policies. Many of the companies that flourished earlier needed a makeover. So, from an acquisitions led strategy, the group's focus then shifted to the strategic planning, restructuring, and consolidation in the 90s. When the group acquired CESE, the power utility company in Kolkata, it was poorly managed, and its return and dividends were managed by the government actually. So today CESE is one of the most efficient power companies and a benchmark for the industry. Harsh Goenka had returned after his business schooling at IMD Lausanne and took over as the managing director of CA Tires India Limited at a very young age of only 24 years. And now he's managing the business very well. Now let us move ahead towards the next group in discussion, none other than the Godrej Group, one of the most famous groups of the Tatas in India. This Mumbai based Godrej family built its fortune from multiple businesses with interest across consumer goods, real estate, white goods, and whatnot. The patriarch of the family is Adi Godrej, the 77-year-old Indian billionaire with a net worth of US $2.9 billion. Godrej Industries was started by Ardeshir Godrej. He was an unsuccessful lawyer. Later, he started manufacturing surgical equipment but failed in that too. He worked as an assistant in a pharma store, but he left that too. One day he read in a newspaper that there was an advertisement by the Mumbai Police Commissioner calling for better safety locks and security locks for homes and offices because a lot of burglary incidents had increased, in that area. And after reading that new advertisement, he decided to make the best lock possible. He learned all about locks and he took loan in 1897, and in a tiny shed in central Mumbai, this 29-year-old guy, he started manufacturing Anchor brand locks. The company has 3,000 plus acres land in Mumbai today. Isn't that big or not? So let's move a bit ahead and talk about this wonderful group, the Godrejs, who sell chairs and desks in Afghanistan, who sell hair dyes in India and Africa, and they sell locks in India and Europe. The Godrej Group almost got into the bicycle business in the late 1930s. Unfortunately, World War II broke out, and the ship carrying the equipments for manufacturing was torpedoed and got sunk. Godrej Synthol deodorant and complexion soap was brought in 1952. In 1918, world's first vegetable oil soap was launched by Godrej, and their products were endorsed by stalwarts like Annie Besant and Rabindranath Tagore. Mahatma Gandhi, in a letter to a favor seeking competitor, says, I hold my brother Godrej in such high regard that if your enterprise is likely to harm him in any way, I regret very much that I cannot give you my blessings. In 1943, Piroj Shahnagar, the then government of Bombay auctions Vikhroli village to Piroj Shah Godrej. Over the next 50 years, Vikhroli transforms into a green industrial township that cares for its people and the environment. In 1951, Godrej made ballot boxes for India's first elections. They say we were thrilled to make 1.7 million ballot boxes for India's first step as a democracy. K.R. Thanewala remembers till date that I know that our best was around 22,000 ballot boxes per day. We would be at the plant from quarter to seven onwards and rarely left before midnight. Godrej Aerospace Engines powers the Polar satellite launch vehicle also. in a phone interview with Forbes also, Bachchan, the Amitabh Bachchan, was mentioning about Adi Godrej, who is a neighbor of Mr. Bachchan, and he was saying that he appears as a shy person, but he's a very hospitable man and very, very welcoming. So that is about this, delightful group to talk about. Let's move ahead towards another huge business conglomerates group, the Adanis. As a school kid, Gautam Adani had once visited Gujarat's Kandla port, and he decided then that one day he would build something similar or even bigger. Since then, he has been following his dream. Indian businessman Gautam Shantilal Adani was born on June 24, 1962, and his birthplace was in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India. Adani had several siblings. Adani's father had a textile unit in Ahmedabad. But Adani chose not to follow his father's footsteps. Instead, he moved to Mumbai when he was only 18 years old. He did not have much money and he had to find a job. Adani being working as a diamond sorter at Mahindra Brothers. He worked at the company for around 2 years and went to set up his own diamond brokerage business in Mumbai. And within a year, Adani made his first million. In 1982, one of his brothers, who was also an entrepreneur, he asked Adani to come back to Ahmedabad. He had purchased a plastic factory over there, and he asked Adani to run it. And he started to import polyvinyl chloride, thus beginning his commodity trading. Adani is basically known in the business world for taking several major risks. All his subsidiaries are shown on the screen to you, and his work paid off. In 1988, he established the Adani Exports, a flagship company of the Adani Group. With the company, Adani continued to trade in a variety of power and agricultural commodities. His business grew rapidly after the 1991 economic liberalization. His capital grew with the help of Adani Exports' major profitability. In 1993, the Government of India invited private companies to run the Mundra port. In 1995 contest, the contract was given to Adani Group. Today, Mundra Port is the biggest private sector port in India. It handles around 80 million tons of cargo every year. With the access to his major capital, Adani formed the Adani Power Limited. The power business branch of Adani Group has several thermal power plants with a capacity of around 4,620 megawatts. With this amount, Adani Group is the largest private power producer in the country. The company is also the largest solar power producer in the country. Adani gives 3% of Adani Group's profit to Adani Foundation. His biggest pride is the Adani Vidya Mandir school in Ahmedabad, where children who come from families of low income can get education, and his wife Preeti helps him run this school. I also wish to share some more interesting facts about this group. With a capital of only 5 lakh rupees, the company was established as a partnership firm with the flagship company Adani Enterprises Limited, previously Adani Exports Limited. In 1990, Adani Group developed its own port in Mundra to provide a base for the trading operations. Began its construction at Mundra in 1995, and in 1998 it became the top net foreign exchange earner for India and cruises. Adani Ports and Special Economic Zone is the largest private port company and special economic zone in India. The company is headed by Karan Adani, CEO of Apsis. The company's operations include port management, logistics, and special economic zone. The company operates at the following ports: Mundra, Dahej, Hazira, Dhamra, Kattupalli, and in Kerala also. The third phase of Adani Power Limited, a thermal plant at Mundra in Gujarat, is world's first first coal-fired plant to receive carbon certification in India. The joint venture with Wilmer International in Singapore in Australia at controversial Carmichael coal mine, Galilee Basin, Queensland. So this is the hugeness of Adani Group. Let's move ahead and discuss the next group in discussion, which is none other than Murugappa Group. The story of the Murugappa Group is a legacy of entrepreneurship that started in 1934 and lives till date. Their journey began in 1898 when a 14-year-old Murugappa Chettiar accompanied his uncle as an apprentice to British province of Burma. He eventually set up his own banking practice with his fluency in Burmese, which gave him an uncommon edge. And by 1914, he had secured his firm's position as the second only to the Imperial Bank of Burma. The Great Depression, World War, and growing sentiment against the foreign cast a shadow on the future of the business in Burma. Employing keen foresight, Dewan Bahadur had the family funds transferred to India before the Burmese government took over the foreign holdings. The origins of the group in India can be traced back to its Prudent Act. In India, he encouraged his three sons to seize the opportunities that would diversify their business. A series of investments, including rubber plantation, steel safes, and setting up of insurance companies and whatnot, the group has drawn from its heritage and carried out organizational and entrepreneurial changes with lots of transparency, and was one of the first to successfully transition from a family managed to a professionally managed corporate house. We all know the big names, named companies that lie under Murugappa Group. So, Murugappa Group is one of India's leading business conglomerate and has 28 businesses, including the 9 listed companies traded in NSE and BSE. In Chennai, the major companies of the group include Carborundum Universal, Cholamandalam Financial Holdings, Cholamandalam Investment, Investment Holdings, Cholamandalam Financial Holdings, and the current executive chairman is M.M. Murugappan. They have presence in several segments like plantations and multiple such other groups. The next group in discussion is the Bajaj Group. The origins of Bajaj Group are dated back to 1926, the year it was founded by Jamnalal Bajaj, a freedom fighter, a philanthropist, and a close confidant of Mahatma Gandhi. It is said that Gandhiji treated Jamnalal as his fifth son. In 1931, at the behest of Mahatma Gandhi, Bajaj founded a sugar factory in Lakhimpur Kheri of Uttar Pradesh, paving the way for the formation of what was originally the flagship company of the group. The Hindustan Sugar Mills Limited was renamed as Bajaj Hindustan Limited in 1988. Jamnalal Bajaj was an Indian industrialist and he was, I told you, the close confidant of Mahatma Gandhi ji. Bajaj Group is one of the oldest and largest conglomerates based in Mumbai, Maharashtra. The group comprises of somewhere around 37 companies under its flagship. Bajaj Auto is ranked as the world's fourth largest two-wheeler and three-wheeler manufacturer. Some of the notable companies are Bajaj Auto, Bajaj Finserv, Hercules Hoists, Bajaj Electricals, Mukund Limited, Bajaj Hindustan, Bajaj Holding and Investment. The group has involvement in various industries that include automobiles, home appliances, lighting, iron and steel, insurance, travel, and whatnot. Rahul Bajaj became the chief executive officer of Bajaj Auto Limited in 1968. He was 30 years only that time. Given the constraints of the license Raj, the company was restricted to producing only 20,000 units a year. There was a huge gap between demand and supply. Customers would book a scooter and wait for years, sometimes 10 years, to get it. Still, Rahul Bajaj did what he could, increasing the production, ignoring the government restrictions, reducing cost, and building a truly Indian brand. Through the 2000s, the original unified Bajaj Group saw several splits. Rahul Bajaj's brother Shishir Bajaj and the nephew Kushabr went their separate ways, with Bajaj Hindustan and Bajaj Consumer Care after a messy fight. Rajiv Bajaj and his brother Sanjeev quietly carved out their own domains from Bajaj Holdings and Investments Limited, and the former got the auto business, and the latter one got the finance business. Mukund and the electrical business were anyway managed independently by others in the extended Bajaj family. Now we are moving ahead towards the next group in discussion, which is the HDFC group. HDFC is basically the brainchild of their founder chairman, the late Mr. H.T. Parekh. HDFC was incorporated on October 17th, 1977. It was promoted as a Development Finance Institute by the Industrial Credit and Investment Corporation of India Limited, ICICI. The ventures running under HDFC Group are shown on the screen in front of you. Deepak Parekh, who headed parent HDFC Limited, wanted to call the new bank Bank of Bombay because it was the only one of the 10 new banks set up after 1991's reforms. It had its headquarters in Mumbai actually. However, the argument that its peers ICICI Bank, IDBI Bank, UTI Bank had taken their names from other parent institutions prevailed. Both ICICI and IDBI were later merged into their respective banks, while Axis Bank separated itself from parent UTI. HDFC Bank went public in 1995. The issue was oversubscribed 55 times and listed at about 40 rupees, three times its issue price. Its current price is 1246. After adjusting the bonuses, stock splits, etc., its return since listing comes to whopping 26% per annum. Its shares were also listed on the New York Stock Exchange in 2001. Nandan Nilekani, then head of the market and sales at Infosys, approached HDFC Bank in order to sell it Infosys software. He was turned down in favor of Citil's microbanker software. Citil was part of Citibank Group, and HDFC had to lobby Citibank hard to overcome the objections that software was being sold to a competitor. Citil is now Oracle Financial Services Software Limited. HDFC's bank's first corporate borrower was Siemens. Its first individual borrower was DB Remedios of Thane, who borrowed 35,000 to build a house. In 1978, HDFC disburses its first home loan to Mr. DB Remedios in Mumbai. And in 1993, Mr. Deepak Parekh appointed as the chairman and Mr. H.T. Parekh appointed as the chairman emeritus. HDFC receives in principle approval to set up the bank. Let's move ahead and talk about the last group in discussion. I guess it is the last one. Yes, it is the Mahindra group. Two brothers, Kailash Chandra Mahindra, KC Mahindra, working for Tata Steel, and Jagdish Chandra Mahindra, JC Mahindra, working for Martin Burns, visited the USA in 1945. They saw jeeps that would eminently suit the rugged roads of India. They took up the franchisee for assembling Willys jeeps and set up a company under the name of Mahindra and Mohammed in association with Ghulam Mohammed. When Ghulam Muhammad later became the finance minister in post-independent Pakistan, Kazmi has stated this in his writings in 2008. And they parted the company. The company was renamed Mahindra and Mahindra in 1948. This was the starting point of Mahindra Group. And then the listings of Mahindra's company are depicted on the screen: Mahindra Holidays, Mahindra EPC Irrigation, Mahindra CIE Automotive, Financial Services, Logistics, whatnot. Tech Mahindra is also there. M&M made major diversification into information technology in 1986 to reap the benefits of the sunrise industry. In 1991, M&M diversified into financial sector with the setting up of Mahindra Financial Services Limited as the wholesale fund provider. On 13th April 2009, Tech Mahindra, the IT subsidiary of M&M, acquired 31% shares of the beleaguered Satyam Computers for rupees 1,756 crores, with an option of open offer for another 20% shares for rupees 1132 crores, total amounting to 2,888 crores. In 2010, Mahindra and Mahindra acquired interest in the bankrupt South Korean automobile company Sangyong to become the world's largest sports utility vehicles with combined turnover of US dollars 4 billion. So the largest online used vehicle website in India was launched by Mahindra Network Services in 1999. So Anand Mahindra was also the man behind the Nanni Kali program in India, which provides free education to girls from the economically unprivileged families. Over 70,000 girls are studying under this program. Mahindra, who had been brought in earlier earlier an year from Mahindra Ujjain Steel, another business controlled by his family, held his ground and the workers yielded, agreeing to increasing productivity. The 1,230 odd workers in the engine factory in Igatpuri, 125 kilometer northeast from Mumbai, who had decided not to make more than 70 units a day, even if this left them enough time to play cards, also gave in. 3 years later, around half the numbers were churning out 125 engines a day. So, in 1995, hungry for partnership with a multinational that would bring in much needed technology and management expertise, his group tied up with Ford Motor for the US ventureship. But the venture petered out in a few years after its first car, the Escort, flopped. In addition to the learning from Ford, Mahindra knew he needed the right people for the Scorpio project. He turned to Pawan Goenka, who had come from General Motors in 1993 as the general manager for research and development, but was on the verge of leaving. Goenka, a specialist in engine technologies, was riveted by the audacious plan to develop a vehicle from scratch in India and bought into this Mahindra's dream. He spent the next few years learning other parts of automotive technology and building a team of skilled, young engineers. In 2002, the Scorpio was born at a total project cost of rupees 550 crores. There were many remarkable things about it. First, Indian companies were not known to develop their own vehicles. Second, it was developed at a tenth of cost that a large manufacturer would have incurred. And the Scorpio has become a platform first for the Xylo in 2009 and then for XUV 500 slated for launch in India. So this is about the Mahindra group. So with this, now we have discussed all the 14 groups in discussion. Here is a small quiz for all of you. And the first question of the quiz is, this group's first venture over 280 years ago was the marine construction industry. A. Bombay Dine, B. Vimal Suiting Shirting, C. Wadia Group, D. JP Group. Answer is C. Wadia Group. RPG was founded by Ramdat Goenka, Kiran Majumdar Shaw, Badridas Goenka, Harsh Goenka. Yes, the answer is A. Ramdat Goenka. Harsh Goenka leads the Mumbai headquarters of which group? JP Group, Wadia Group, Bajaj, RPG Enterprises. The answer is RPG Enterprises. Synthol deodorant and complexion soap was born in 1952 under the flagship of which Indian business house? Yes, the answer is A. Godrej. Next question. This group's first venture over 280 years ago was in the marine construction industry. Yes, 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 you know the answer. It is Wadia Group. RPG Group was founded by Ramdat Goenka, Kiran Majumdar Shaw, Badridas Goenka, or Harsh Goenka. The answer is Ramdat Goenka. Adani Group is the largest dash producer in the country. Cement, steel, private power, none of these. Answer is private power. Business environment is the sum total of all things external to the business firms and as such is aggregative in nature. True or false? The answer is true. Reliance Commercial Corporation was founded by, the answer is Dhirubhai Ambani. Ashok Leyland runs under which group of industries? Kingfisher, Hinduja, Tata, Khaitan. The answer is Hinduja Group of Industries. My next question is Voltas is the brand of Hinduja, Tata, Bajaj, Dabur, and the answer is B. Tata. So that is all from my side for today's session. Thank you for your patient listening. I hope you have thoroughly enjoyed this session as much as I have tried, as much as I have enjoyed in taking this session for you. I'm sure you will continue watching these sessions, and as we move ahead, we'll be learning a lot about the Indian business houses and their journeys. You know, through the business cycles that they have gone through. There is a lot to learn in this course, not only as an aspirant for joining as an employee in some big business conglomerate, but also if you want to become an entrepreneur yourself. So that is all from my side for today. This is Dr. Swati Mishra from International School of Business Management at Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur, signing off. Thank you. Have a nice day.